Hey guys, it's Sam, and today I'm going to be doing a reaction to my first book haul. So I recently had my 3-year anniversary here on BookTube, and Sarah Jane and I from the Book Life had a BookTube anniversary live show because we started our channels right around the same time. And in our discussions we ended up talking about what if we did reactions to our first book hauls, because we were talking about the recent, like, me culling my books and how things have changed as far as book buying and stuff. And I find that a better reaction than reacting to my first video ever, because I don't want to make fun of myself back in the day, because it's like, that was my first video and everyone kind of has awkward first videos, and I'm still really proud of that first video, and I was really proud of that first video. So it's not about like making fun of myself, it's about like what was the fate of these books. Like, are these books that ended up being bought and loved or hated or never read? Like, what is the situation? So I'm actually doing my first 2 hauls, because the very first haul that I did, I ended up only hauling I think 3 books. So it wasn't like a huge haul, and the second one was like a bigger haul. Not huge, not my biggest by any means, but those first 2 I'm interested to see. I have not watched them in years, so we'll see. The first book that I hauled was Saga Volume 2. Now this is interesting because I don't remember why I only got Volume 2. Maybe Volume 1 wasn't available. I probably went to the comic book store and got this. And that's really funny because this is one of my favorite graphic novel series. It's not my current running favorite, but it's what got me into graphic novels, and I did read and loved this one. Then it was Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins, and I actually ended up reading this book shortly after I bought it, because again, I only had a few books on my shelf, so I ended up reading a lot of these books probably when I first got them. We'll see what happened. But I ended up liking this one. It has its flaws, but like, I do think Stephanie Perkins is just like a fun contemporary writer, and I do eat up her books, the few that I have read. So this was a fun one, and one I read fairly recently after buying it. Then it was The Forsaken by Lisa M. Stase, and I actually ended up reading this book as well. I Inhale read it, but it's not a good book. It's a dystopian book. I Inhale read it for some reason. It's really predictable. I didn't continue with the series, but like, I read it I think in one sitting, and that was that. It's odd, but I've unhauled that a long time ago. Then it was Bitter Blue by Kristen Kishore. This is another one that I read fairly recently after getting it. I don't know if I bought this. I did buy it new. It was an Amazon buy. So this was the 3rd book in the Graceling series. I loved both the first 2 books in the series, and I read it again shortly after getting it. So yeah, so far so good, old self. Then it was The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. This is one that I actually recently gave away to a used bookstore, and I am currently listening to this one on audiobook. Actually, by the time this video goes up, I might have already finished listening to it, but I ended up not really liking this series being read in physical copies, so I ended up listening to them on audiobook because they have a full cast. So I'll be talking about that one hopefully in this month's wrap-up. But I just now got to it. Even though I bought this one, I'm pretty sure in a used bookstore. And lastly, from that book haul, we have The Host by Stephanie Meyer. This I also got in a used bookstore. I still haven't read it. It is on my TBR shelf, but I do plan on reading it. I've watched the movie, and I've heard that people like really like this book. So it is one that I do plan on getting to, and I'll probably fly through because it's like Stephanie Meyer, like easy writing. So it's still one I plan on reading. Just haven't read it yet. But overall, I think I did really good for that first book haul. Holy crap. So for the second book haul, and it's actually, I did 2 book hauls that August in the month, but I'm not going to worry about that because, yeah, we're not going to do all those. And then it was like 15 plus books. That's when the book haul started to get out of control. So for this last book haul that we're going to talk about for my first couple of book hauls, I did get Saga Volume 1 finally, and then I got the first volume of the New 52 Wonder Woman. I've obviously read Saga, like I mentioned before. And I started reading this Wonder Woman a while ago and wasn't really feeling it, so I put it down, but I've been wanting to start up the New 52 like series again since seeing the film. So I don't think the film at all is anything like related to this whatsoever. But I want to get into more Wonder Woman, and I have for a long, long time. So I attempted. I still think I get points for that. Then I got the Penelope ad by Margaret Atwood. This is a retelling of the Odyssey, but from Penelope's perspective. I did read this, and I really liked it. It's something that feels very Margaret Atwood, and it is a, like, you know, Greek mythology retelling, so it was a fun time. And I think I got it because of Jean Bookish Thoughts, I want to say. Then I got The Goddess Test by Amy Carter, and this is one of the books that I held on to. I got rid of the rest of the series because I've talked about this series and how I thought the series went really, really downhill. But it's one of the first Hades Persephone retellings I ever talked about on my channel, so I had to keep it, even though, like, it's not the most ideal one and it's not perfect and whatever, but I really liked it when I read it. and I'm keeping like any Hades Persephone retelling that I ever read on my shelf and like basically collecting them. So yeah, read this one very quickly after getting it and pretty much inhale read it. Then I got Ruby Red by Kristen Gear. It's over there in the pile and I don't feel like digging it out right now, and I hated this series. I read it, I think a while after getting it, honestly. I think these were on my shelves for a pretty long time, but I read them and ooh man, not good. Then we had The Thief by Megan Wayland Turner. I have read this one, but I haven't continued with the series. I know that they've repackaged these because I always got beat up editions of these, and I have like the first 2 or 3 books in the series. But it's a series that I really do want to read, and I think I might actually buy the newer editions of them that are like, they're bigger, more trade paperback size and everything else. So I'm gonna do that. This is a very classic fantasy series, young adult, before young adult was even a thing, so. Then I got Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. This is all because Lainey of Gingery's Lainey was talking about this and saying that it was like crack cocaine in book form, and I loved these books. I read this pretty recently, I think, too, after getting it. I might have marathon read them, honestly. But I read them, I think, within at least that year, and it's a good time. Still books that I've kept on my shelf. Still some of my favorites. Really good kind of like dystopian fantasy blend. Then we have Ask the Passengers by A.S. King. This is one I just recently got rid of. I can see it in my pile, but again, I'm not going to go get it right now. I ended up not really liking this. I feel like A.S. King was a very overhyped booktube author. I've read a couple things by her and just not really into it. I just didn't really like this. I can't remember much about it, honestly, but I was not a big fan. I think it was like a 3-star when I read it. And lastly, we had The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons. You guys know how I feel about this book. I hated it. It did take me about a year to read it, though, and I did find this nice book cover that I really wanted, blah, 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 at a used bookstore. But yeah, it wasn't a good time. So yeah, that's it for my first couple of hauls. I did well. I was really expecting more of them to be books I hadn't gotten to. I think if I would have continued on and done a couple of later videos, later hauls, it would have started being books that I never got to. But, you know, when do you stop? You know? But for my first couple of hauls, I did really well, and that kind of speaks to, like, get books that you could read in a reasonable amount of time and you'll get to them. Even though a couple of them I did, it took a while to get to. But I'm really proud of myself. I think that was good. I'm excited. It makes me happy. I like that, like, you know, buying books and reading them quickly after getting them. It's crazy. Isn't that a mysterious thing? And who would have thought of that? So yeah, comment below and let me know if you're a booktuber or blogger and if you're going to do something like this. Please tag me if you do. I would love to see it. Myself and Sarah Jane included, because we both kind of thought of this when we were doing our live show. It could be a tad that goes around, you know, reactions to the first, you know, book haul you ever did kind of thing. I like that. I like that more than the reaction to your first video, because again, I don't like being, like, making fun of, you know, yourself. It's, you were learning and, you know, all that kind of thing. So yeah, let me know the fate of some of the first books that you ever really remember hauling. I'd like to know. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all guys soon. Bye!